Banking systems inexplicably started to fall offline in a number of countries, increasing concerns that a system collapse may be imminent as geopolitical tension increase all over the world. It will certainly come as a rude surprise to those who still believe that the recent bank outages, closures, and disruptions were one-off incidents that will soon be resolved. Welcome to 360 Economist. We have a lot to discuss today, so please don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to keep updated with future videos. Many individuals are beginning to lose faith in banks due to the state of the financial system. A credit crunch to what occurred during the 2008 financial crisis was feared to be unleashed by interest rate increases. Banks claim that since the health crisis burst, this is because people are still afraid to leave their homes and prefer to conduct their business through online channels. More and more everyday transactions are being done online or through mobile devices, according to Greg McBride, Chief Financial Analyst for Bankrate. As a result, branch traffic has altered and has decreased significantly over time. According to S&P Global Market Intelligence, 2,126 bank branches closed in the United States in 2020, marking the most bank closures ever until almost 3,000 additional branches vanished from the system in 2021. Throughout the country, about 4,000 branches were closed between March 2020 and October 2021. Wells Fargo closed a net 267 branch locations in 2020. By the end of 2021, that figure had risen to 993. Comparing all states, California had the greatest percentage of bank retail branch closures last year. Bank closures increased by 38%, costing 269 banks money overall. California came in first, followed by Michigan with 247 closures, New York with 220, Florida with 192, and Illinois with 153 to complete out the top 5. The authors of the research stated, "This shows that banks are just hurrying to close as many branches as they can, as quickly as they can, any place they can." Although more consumers have recently used mobile and internet banking services, traditional bank branches still exist, according to Bruce Mitchell, Senior Research Analyst at NCRC and co-author of the report. However, switching to internet services wasn't totally a conscious decision, because there were few options available and many local banks were closed overnight. Many Americans began using internet banking. Additionally, users are losing their ability to use ATMs to withdraw cash and are becoming more susceptible to online disruptions and even sudden asset freezes. People who reside in rural and isolated places, who frequently lack access to mobile banking and have a greater need for in-person facilities, are being disproportionately impacted by the closures. Local economies are also supported by bank branches, and many surrounding small companies that have survived in recent years are now in danger of going out of business as foot traffic continues to diminish. The biggest issue is that many customers won't be able to have cash on hand in case of an emergency due to the decreased number of operating branches and ATM machines. If there is an outage, consumers won't be able to access their savings or ordinary banking services. Furthermore, major banks are not required to guarantee that local communities would have access to cash when their last branch closes under new regulations supported by a number of international economies, including the US government. Over the past few weeks, this has sparked a fierce consumer backlash in Europe. In the UK, Some angry customers started moving their money from their accounts into their cryptocurrency wallets, while others participated in a bank run to remove it from the system. Banking insiders have issued a warning that 700 to 800 branches will be closed this year in the United States alone, which will make matters worse. The emergencies act an exceptional measure for the enforcement of legal orders that would otherwise be considered illegal in a normal situation, for violating fundamental natural human rights that are typically protected by the Constitution, was invoked by the federal government of Canada last week. The Emergencies Act gave banks the right to immediately freeze the accounts of anyone suspected of being involved in these recent protests without requiring evidence or a court order. The act was actually implemented to prevent common backdrops. Numerous local stories claim that last week, as millions of individuals attempted to withdraw enormous sums of money from their accounts, Canada's banks abruptly went offline. They experienced a massive outage that lasted about 5 hours and prevented users from using their primary services. Online and mobile banking services were also reportedly unavailable. Banks noted technological challenges with handling transactions. The administration in the United States is worried that the geopolitical confrontation between Russia and Ukraine may further affect the operations of our major banks and utility infrastructure. U.S. banking institutions and other crucial infrastructure sectors, like electric utilities, have been urged by officials to be on high alert for any potential cyber attacks. In summary, as banking services transition to the new digital era, customers are likely to experience many more unforeseen disruptions, given that they can completely lose access to their funds with just one simple government order, and that the system is not protected from fraud and cyber attacks. The truth is that banks are more renowned for spending their way out of crisis after they explode than for making damage control investments. People typically put their money into a bank for a reason, to keep it safe. But if politicians can certainly freeze your money for not complying with their rules, or if banks themselves cannot guarantee protection from fraud and hackers, the only obvious outcome for people is to take their money out and place it somewhere else. The world's population is only now realizing that the system is much more fragile than it seems, and that in fact, their wealth is not protected in their bank accounts. Since things are getting worse and worse in the financial markets, it would be a good idea to start looking for alternatives to protect our wealth before everything starts to fall apart. It won't be surprising if more bank runs start to happen in the near future, as the world's population is finally realizing that those few people in positions of power can choose to confiscate the money we worked for during our entire lives, with no good explanation for it.